Hello and welcome to this session in which we will discuss System and Organization Controls SOC report. Specifically, within the SOC report, we're going to be looking at the system description, and specifically under the system description, we're going to be looking at a SOC 2. Now, why SOC 2? The reason why we are discussing SOC 2 because we looked at SOC 1 in the prior session, and in the next session, we would look at the system description for a cybersecurity risk management. So the goal of all of this is going over the SOC report, starting with the description, we'll move to the assertions, we'll move to the independent auditor report, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and get started by reviewing real quick what is a SOC 2 engagement before we proceed any further into discussing the description in a SOC 2 report. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com. Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today. So what is a SOC 2 engagement? This is a review. It's an audit designed to evaluate a service organization system by examining three main areas. So remember here, we're looking at the service organization. What is a service organization? The organization that's providing a service to a user entity. So for example, Farhat Lectures outsource their IT department to a service organization, because they don't want to have their own IT. The service organization is the IT company. The IT company will provide us with services. Now they have to get an audit. So a SOC 2 engagement is an audit designed to evaluate the IT company's system by examining three areas: the description of their system, the suitability of the control design, and three, how effectively these controls operate. And this is a type 2 report. These are type 1. These controls are relevant to 5 key principles, which we call the trust services criteria: security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. This is in contrast to SOC 1. Under SOC 1, our criteria is the internal control over financial reporting. So the control criteria are different. So SOC 1 deals with internal control over financial reporting. SOC 2 deals with trust services criteria. And those are the trust services criteria. Now a SOC 2 could be about 1, 2, 3, or all of them. It does not matter. So let's take a look at what would a SOC 2 engagement description would involve. So in this process, the management, when they prepare the SOC 2 engagement, is responsible for providing a detailed description of their system. Why would they do that? They want to do that because if they want to entice, if they want to recruit new customers other than Farhat Lectures, they have to tell the users, the potential users, about what they want to do. Now, when a SOC 2, it's designed, again, not for the general public, it's designed for specific groups such as the user's entity and their auditors. But think about it from the service company's perspective. They want to kind of have a good description of what they do, so this way they can tell the user's entity exactly what they're doing. So this description, which we'll discuss, help users of the report, such as the clients, business partners, and other stakeholders, to understand how the system works, including how data is processed and the flows within and out, and how it flows within and out of the system. So simply put, they want to tell you their story in that description. For what purpose? To inform you. So the report must be prepared following specific criteria that focus on the organization's procedures, obviously, and controls designed to manage and mitigate risk. So this comprehensive description, the reason why they do that is to ensure transparency, and they provide essential information on the system's control environment. So the whole purpose of the report is to inform their client, the user's entity, such as Farhat Lectures, such as my auditor, and other stakeholders who might be interested in this report. Remember, but SOC 2 is limited versus a SOC 3, it's to the public. Now, let's take a look at specific items that you would see in this description. First, it's the type of services provided, and this is very similar to SOC 1. What are you really offering? What type of service are you offering? Type of services provided. This section outlines the specific services the organization offer, focusing on those relevant to SOC 2 engagement. For example, a cloud storage provider would detail their data storage and backup services. They will tell you about their services. The principal, service commitment, and system requirement. This includes the promise the organization make to their client regarding the service. What are they providing? What's the commitment that they're making? And all the system requirements necessary to fulfill their principal objective, principal business. It might detail how the data is protected and how the uptime is guaranteed, for example, for a cloud storage and backup company. Service commitment, they'll have to include that. These are formal declaration made by management about the systems used to deliver services. And this is to make sure that they meet the need of users and their customers. I'm making a commitment, service commitment to you. Just spell it out. Tell me what are those commitments. 4. System requirement. This section specifies how the system should operate to meet various commitment, system requirement, to comply with laws and industry standards, and to fulfill the organization objective relevant to the SOC 2, what they wanted to do, the SOC 2 principal or principal service. What are the system requirements? Also in the description, they would involve component of the system used to provide the service. In this part of the description would include information about the infrastructure, the software, which is the hardware, the software, people, procedures, and data essential for delivering the services. For example, in an online payment processing service, they would list their secure payment gateway, encryption technology, anti-fraud monitoring procedures. They also need to list or identified system incidents. This would include any incidents where controls were poorly designed or failed, leading to significant disruption in the service. They have to tell you this. And why? Because you need to be aware of it. And they obviously, if they mention it, they will discuss exactly what they did to resolve it. The description covers the nature, scope, timing, and resolution of these incidents, with Type 2 report covering the period of the review. Again, this is a Type 2, because in Type 2 we want to know if something is working properly or not. Remember, if it's working effectively or not, versus looking at the description of the design and the suitability of the design. Also, we would look at the applicable trust services criteria. Details the criteria. Remember, we mentioned 5 of them earlier. The trust service criteria is relevant to the report. They might be all 5 relevant, 2 of them 3. It doesn't have to be all 5, 1 or all 5, or any combination. Including the controls established to assure stakeholders that the service commitment and the system requirements are met. Also within the description, we're going to discuss the complementary user entity controls. Again, I'm not going to discuss those in details. We're going to discuss them later, as well as the sub-service organization, such as the inclusive method, the carve-out method. Again, we'll talk about those in a separate recording, but just like I briefly discussed them in SOC 1, I'm going to mention them here, but you need to know that those are discussed in SOC 2 report. Also in the description, we want to explain why certain trust criteria are omitted. Why? Because we want to give a clarity about the scope of the audit. Remember, we have 5 service criteria. If we're not covering confidentiality, we should explicitly state this, or privacy. We should explicitly state that. And we should include detailed of systems and control changes, which is Type 2 and a Type 2 engagement. Details any significant changes to systems or controls during the reporting period, because remember, Type 2 is for a reporting period that impact the organization service commitment and system requirement. So those are the basic component that you might see in a SOC 2 description. Are these the only one? I would say those are the one most likely you will be responsible for. Now, if you really want to look at a report, Google AI CPA SOC 2 description, and you will go to the AI CPA website and you will see an actual report, but this is what I think is relevant for the Information Systems and Control Exam, CPA. Let's take a look at this multiple choice question from farhatlectures.com. A company specializing in data security solutions is preparing a SOC 2 Type 2, which is about the effectiveness of the report. Which of the following would be an important aspect of the system description? So if you are issuing a SOC 2 Type 2, is it a description of the customer satisfaction matrix? Well, that's good, but is this really important aspect of the system description? No, actually, how would you know about the customer satisfaction matrix, and why would
if you measured it, how is that relevant to a SOC 2 engagement? Maybe this will be like a marketing material more than a SOC 2. You would not include this. Detailed listing of marketing strategies. That's not what you need. This is not what you would include in a SOC 2. Identified system incidents and their resolution. Would you include this in a SOC 2? It's specifically SOC 2 Type 2? Yes. What is a SOC 2 Type 2? SOC 2 Type 2 is determining whether the controls are working effectively. What does that mean? It means if they're not working effectively, you want to identify the incidents and what did you do to fix that incident. So C will be part of a SOC 2 Type 2 engagement. Let's look at D, overview of the company's stock performance. I don't think so. That's not relevant to a SOC engagement. What should you do now? You want to go to Farhat Lectures, look at additional MCQs, and those MCQs would help you do what? Would help you be prepared better for the Information Systems and Controls CPA exam section. Invest in yourself. Farhat Lectures is always here to help. Good luck, and of course, stay safe.